From the entertainment capital of the world, New York City, Freeze Frame Video is proud to present the United States Offshore Racing Association's New York National Offshore Championship. Hello again, everyone. Shelly Kahn speaking to on behalf of Jeff Girardi and the entire Freeze Frame Sports video production staff, welcoming you to another exciting offshore powerboat race. And what a powerboat race we've got here today along the Hudson River on the west side of Manhattan. This is the 10th race in the series, sponsored by the United States Offshore Racing Association, and it is also their 5th national race on that circuit, as well as the boats that we've been watching. Well, as you can see, we're now airborne and over the milling area. We're going to be going with the Super and Open start today, but let's set the course. The Open division will be running 17 laps for a total of 137.5 statute miles. Offshore D will be doing 11 laps for a total of 89 miles. Modified C will be doing 10 laps for a total of 80.9 miles, as well as Pro Stock doing 10 laps for 80.9 miles. So that is the course. And we're going to be going first with a Super and Open start here today. So there you see the boats in the milling area with New Jersey in the background. It's so great where we have New Jersey on one side of the Hudson, Manhattan on the other side, providing the backdrop for a very exciting race it's going to be happening with today. There's Tweet Revenge right there that you see in the milling area. We're going to have quite a start. Dirty Laundry will be there, Kid Apache Kid, Cobra Power, Powerboat Marine, In Excess, Tweet Revenge, and the Superboat are really going to put on a show. And in the Open class, you can count on Gifford Racing, Sunoco to be there, Spirit of Norway, Mean Streak, Budweiser, Cigarette Lady 2 are really going to put on a show. We've got some very fast boats. We can expect speeds well over 100 miles an hour today. The Hudson is quite calm, and these boats are going to thrive on this type of racing conditions. Very strong power plants in all these boats. And there you see the pace boat right there in the background, sending off the orange flare, indicating that we are going to be ready. And here comes the pace boat with the yellow flag, starting to come up, and all the boats are coming out of their circle patterns to start joining behind the pace boat. We're going to be going with a Super and Open start, and this looks like we're going to have a great race. A lot of extremely strong boats here today, some exceptionally strong power plants, and we expect to see some very high speeds today. Right there, turning around the center of your picture, that's Cobra Marine. And right there behind him, it's Kid Apache Kid. And then going on the outside of Cobra Marine, I've got Tweet Revenge there. I also see Mean Streak. There's Tweet Revenge, and behind Tweet Revenge, it's Mean Streak. And then on the outside of them, it's Sunoco, the Gifford Racing Team Sunoco. And then we've got Dirty Laundry there. And they're right there in your picture. It's Cobra Marine, Tweet Revenge, and Kid Apache. This is officially underway. We've got the green flag, and the 1992 New York National Offshore Championship is officially underway. And right there in your picture, we've got Kid Apache Kid on the inside, Tweet Revenge on the inside, and Sunoco Gifford Racing on the outside. There's your first three boats taking off right there. Bill Gifford on the outside in Gifford Racing Sunoco. Tweet Revenge drives. This boat is throttled by Larry Goldman, driven by Randy Garcia, and navigated by Rich Schumann. In the first race of the year that they've had with this boat, they took a first place in Ocean City, and it was extremely rough. So they're not really here for points or anything, but they really enjoyed their first place finish in Ocean City, and they've come out here to show that this boat is for real, and they're going to do some fine racing here today for all the fans in Manhattan. So being that this is their second race, this Tweet Revenge Apache Superboat, and that Spirit of Norway going by on the outside, who we saw going into the turn with Tweet Revenge. But this is their second race. Tweet Revenge is an Apache Superboat, and it's owned and driven by Fort Lauderdale entrepreneur and offshore enthusiast Dan Morris. And there you see the Giffords right there in their Sunoco Express Gifford Racing. This awesome 47-foot V-bottom has just received the best of everything, including a triple set of Cobra Power 1,000 horsepower supercharged power plants by C&G Marine of Miami, driving Merc Cruiser 6 drives and Keykefer 4 blades surface propellers. Hats off should go to Larry Goldman of Cobra Power Marine Service Center. And there you see a great job to Bill Gifford and Sunoco Revenge right there. But they're having a fine run. Tweet Revenge is looking very good right there. The crew of Goldman, Garcia, and Schumann looking very confident and comfortable in their racing Caxville. So look out, Sylvester. Tweety Bird's on the warpath, and they're going to close out 92 strong, and we can expect to see Tweety's Revenge in 1993. From Tweet Revenge, we go to Gifford Racing, Sunoco Special. So with the Statue of Liberty in the background, now we're coming up on Bill Gifford and Jack Clark's number 88, the Gifford Racing Team. There's a 35-foot Jaguar powered by two 850 horsepower Mercury inboard motors with Merc Cruiser outdrives. This boat is owned and driven by Bill Gifford of Egg Harbor, New Jersey, and on throttles, it's Jack Clark from Pembroke, Florida. There you get a good shot of the Sunoco Gifford Racing Team as he starts heading back up the Hudson with the west side of Manhattan in the background right there. What a year 1992 has been for Bill Gifford and Jack Clark. They're second in the Northeast standings and first in their national points. They had a second place in Newburyport, a first in Point Pleasant, a first in Ocean City, a first at the Sunoco Shootout, and a second at Lake St. Clair. And right now this boat is running exceptionally strong, as you can see. He's going to be dueling all day with the Spirit of Norway, who you saw running earlier on, who's having a very strong run also, as well as Budweiser, who really got off to a fine start. So those are going to be some tough running boats right there. Spirit of Norway and Budweiser are going to really be giving the Sunoco race team, headed up by Bill Gifford, a run today. So right there you've got a great shot of the Sunoco race team, headed up by Bill Gifford. Bill Gifford and Jack Clark of the Gifford Racing Team, headed up by Sunoco sponsorship. This boat is dialed in exceptionally well right now. And there you see as he's coming up to the 59th Street Pier, and right there, that is the OPT pits, the Mercury truck, and so many spectators lining the 59th Street Pier. It's certainly going to be a battle in the open class. Gifford Racing looking very strong right now. And there you see Extractor going by, and right there we're back on Tweet Revenge. Presently running first right now in the Super V class. That would certainly be an accomplishment for them if they could piggyback a first place finish here today to add to their first place finish in Ocean City. That would really be a good accomplishment for them as they head down to Key West for the World Championships. Sweet Revenge, a fine-looking boat, and it's running exceptionally well right here in the Hudson. Your first place boat running right now in the Offshore D division, Jim Lausnowski's D25 Extractor Race Team. There's a 32-foot superboat powered by two 650 horsepower Zool racing engines with Merc Cruiser drives. This boat is owned and throttled by Jim Lausnowski of Babylon, New York. Driving today's Bob Guzzo of Westbury, New York, and Al Shabelli from Westbury is your navigator. This boat is first in the Northeast point standings and third in your national standings. What a year 92 has been for Jim Lausnowski's and the Extractor crew. They had a second place finish in Norfolk, Virginia, third place at Newburyport, Mass, first place in Montauk, Long Island, third place in Ocean City, and a first at Kent Narrows, and he's running exceptionally strong right now. Unofficially, he's in first place right now, and if he continues to run like this, he's going to be tough to catch here today in New York. Extractor Race Team would like to thank G&A Moving and Storage, Countywide Automotive, MRD Marine Performance, RC Marine, and Ritchie Zool Racing Engines. It's Jim Lausnowski's Extractor Race Team as he heads towards the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island right there. The strong-running, hard-charging Jim Lausnowski's Extractor Race Team. Just as they had throughout all of 1992, these Zool racing motors are really doing the job here today. This boat is dialed in exceptionally well, and this is what an offshore powerboat racer is all about. These motors are really doing the job. So Jim Lausnowski's from the Empire State is really doing a fine job in the waters right off the Empire State. Jim Lausnowski's Extractor Race Team. Now we come up on boat number 40, Powerboat Marine. There's a 35-foot Jaguar powered by twin 1,000 horsepower Mercury inboard motors. This boat is driven by Nick Casulo and throttled by Joey Impressia of East Coast Marine. What a year it's been for Powerboat Marine. All they simply had to do is start today's race, and they will be the first place boat in the open class in OPT. They had a second place in Cocoa Beach, a first in Marathon, and a first in Sarasota. That's in the superboat class. With a simple start here today, they will be first place in OPT. But they've certainly gone way beyond that, as you can see. This boat is running exceptionally well. They're in a battle with Joel Mock's Dirty Laundry, who has really taken off beyond the field. Cobra Power is running very strong. But they're locked in a battle with Kid Apache Kid in excess, and we've got a good race going right now in the superboat class. Nick Casulo and Joey Impressia really doing the job. Already this year there's been a second place in Cocoa Beach, a first in Marathon, first in Sarasota, and that's put them in a very good position for the first place finish here in OPT. So our congratulations go out to the entire Powerboat Marine race team. And Joey Impressia, who's one of the best hired throttle men in the business, has really had an excellent 92 campaign himself, and we congratulate him as well as Nick Casulo for a fine year. From the Hudson River in New York City, it's Powerboat Marine. Now we come up on the hard-charging 89 Kid Apache Kid. This is a 45-foot Apache powered by three 1,000 horsepower CNG engines with Mercury outdrives. This boat is owned and driven by Alan Feingold of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Throttling today is Jerry Davis from Philadelphia. And from Voorhees, New Jersey, it's the navigator, Bobby Horn. So Horn, Davis, and Feingold making up the Kid Apache Kid race team. And 92 has been very good to Feingold and his crew. They're in first in the OPT standings in the Super V class. They had a second place in Cocoa Beach, a second place in Marathon, a first in Sarasota, and a second place in Ocean City. And right now they're locked in a battle with In Excess, Tweet Revenge, Powerboat Marine, who you just saw. And we've got a lot of strong boats running in the Super Boat class. But Feingold, with the year that he's had, and that first place standing is certainly going to be a boat to be reckoned with here today. He'd love to have another first or second place finish here today in New York to really culminate a good year in 92. And there with Battery Park in the background, Kid Apache Kid starts heading up the Hudson, going along the west side of this skyline. What a great scene for offshore powerboat racing. Usually accustomed to the open waters out in the ocean, it's very unique to have a race like this with these type of boats here in the Hudson River. Feingold's looking very strong right now, and you know he's going to be tough in Key West in the end of this year. From New York City, it's Alan Feingold's Kid Apache Kid. Kid Apache Kid having a very strong run. And there we see one of his arch rivals, In Excess. That's another 47-foot Apache. We've got two Apache racing boats going at it. Feingold would love nothing more than to pass the In Excess race team. And now we come up on D57, the Arrow Express race team. There's a 31-foot custom-built racing hull powered by two 700-horsepower Chevy inboard motors with Merc Cruiser outdrives. Presently, they're 7th in the Northeast standings and 4th in the national standings. This boat is owned and throttled by Philip DeGenna of Bayville, New York. Driving today is John Buscema from Newport Richey, Florida. And your navigator is Mike Camera. They've had a relatively good 92 campaign. They had a first in Point Pleasant, a second in Montauk, a second in Ocean City, and they're presently running very strong in their class. The Arrow Express race team would like to thank their sponsors. Arrow Snow Removal Corporation of Port Washington, New York, specializing in airport snow removable services in the entire Northeast area. DeGenna Industries Incorporated of Port Washington, New York, a leader in municipal street sweeping services throughout the Northeast. Mars Competition Center of Port Richey, Florida, high-performance boat rigging and engine building. And the Rainbow Powder Coating of Long Island, New York, and Sarasota, Florida. The Arrow Express race team. There you got a great shot of the crew tucked in very nicely in their racing cockpit. They've got a battle going right now with Instant Therapy, Obsession, Lap Dancer, and Predator are really running strong. Lavsnowski's really going to be tough to beat in Offshore D, but we've got a battle going on with some of these other boats, and DeGenna's really doing the job necessary in the Arrow Express race team. From Manhattan, New York, it's Phil DeGenna's Arrow Express. A battle being waged in Pro Stock right now. On the outside, that's a Thrasher race team, and on the inside, we've got Tough Enough. This is going right down to the heat right here. These boats are running neck and neck. Thrasher on the outside, Tough Enough on the inside, and what a battle we've got going right now. With Manhattan in the background, it's P57, the Thrasher race team. This is a 32-foot skater powered by three 2.5 Mariner outboard motors. This boat is owned and throttled by Mark Taggart of Wayne, New Jersey, and Mike Belgium from Massapequa, New York, is your driver. What a year Belgium and Taggart have had. They're first in your Northeast standings, first in the national standings, and they would like to extend a very special thanks to Diamond Marine. They had a first in Norfolk, Virginia, first in Newburyport, first in St. Cloud, fourth in Panama City, fourth in Montauk, second in Point Pleasant, first at Kent Narrows, back in their winning ways again with a first in Barnegat, and they're running exceptionally strong right now. And right there you see that helicopter, which is the entire Thrasher crew and fans who is in that helicopter following the Thrasher race team. So there you have, in force and in mass, the Thrasher race team. In the air as well as in the water, it's Mark Taggart's P57 Thrasher race team. And he's going to be dueling with Ocean Outboard, Equalizer, Tough Enough, High Risk, Insanity, and Euro Marine throughout the day. Pro Stock is really going to be a competitive division, and we wish them all the best. From Manhattan, New York, it's P57, Mark Taggart's Thrasher race team. Thrasher getting a little loose right there. They're really running, and down in the water, that was Cigarette Lady, that yellow boat. Hopefully they'll get it going again. And down in the water, that's a tough break. Euro Marine Special is out of the race. So that has changed the things in Pro Stock right now with Euro Marine dropping out. So this really is going to open it up for Thrasher race team, who we see in our picture right now, and Tough Enough, who we're about to come up to. We've got a battle going right there, 1 and 2. It's too close to call right now. Thrasher on the outside, Tough Enough on the inside. What a battle being waged right here in Manhattan in Pro Stock division. Let's get to Tough Enough, P32. It's a 32-foot skater powered by three 250 horsepower Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned and throttled by Mark Weigel of Cambridge, Ontario, and Dana Weigel from Cambridge, Ontario is your driver. And there you see them as they're going around the checkpoint. That's Thrasher on the outside, taking a slight lead over Tough Enough. Tough Enough had a very good year. Fourth in Cocoa Beach, first in Marathon, first in Suncoast APBA, first in Ocean City, and they're right now second in the OPT points. But there you see Thrasher, who's having a very good run. But Tough Enough is hanging right there. Taggart and Belgium really have this Thrasher race team dialed in quite nicely. And there in the far outside, we see Tough Enough. They're presently running in first place with a slight lead over Thrasher at this point in time. The Weigels are really doing the job. The Tough Enough race team is also running exceptionally strong right there. There you see the gap between Tough Enough, who's in first place, and Thrasher, who's in second place. The Tough Enough race team would like to thank their Canadian sponsors: Churchill Homes, Hamel Manufacturing, Lightco Homes, Mark's Work Warehouse, Wycon Custom Controls, and Wellington Produce. And I'd like to give a very special thanks to all the guys at Mercury's Lake X for all the hard work and support that they have provided the Tough Enough race team, and it's really paying off right here. Mark and Dana Weigel's Tough Enough race team. In Pro Stock, an interesting storyline. If Tough Enough takes first place, and Ocean Outboard, who's presently in first place in class, but right there, we've got Tough Enough on the inside, Thrasher on the outside, as they sandwich between the Arrow Express race team, who's having a very good run also. But as you were saying, and alluding to the story really in Pro Stock, if Tough Enough can hang in there and win, and Ocean Outboard either breaks or finishes in fourth or worse, then Tough Enough could be first nationally in OPT. So there's really a lot at stake developing here in Pro Stock. So right there, we've still got how it's been covered for a while. Tough Enough and Thrasher are going at it head to head. And there you see Aero Express coming on. However, they're in a different class of racing. P51, the hard-charging Ocean Outboard race team. This 32-foot skater is powered by 3 Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned and driven by Mark Mahalik of Tucson, Arizona. On throttling, it's John Engel of Seminole, Florida. And that is the crew of the Ocean Outboard race team, and what a crew it's been. They're presently first place in points in Pro 1 in the OPT circuit, a second place in Cocoa Beach, a fourth in Marathon, a first in Sarasota, and a second place in Ocean City. They'd like to thank their sponsors, Ocean Outboard, DC Concrete, and this boat is rigged and maintained by Engel Marine, and they'd like to give a very special thanks to Jeff, Kurt, and Jill, the Ocean Outboard race team. Unofficially, Ocean Outboard is running in 3rd place behind Thrasher and Tough Enough. So we've got quite a battle going on in Pro Stock. Ocean Outboard would really like to have a good finish here today to maintain his first place in points in OPT. He needs a good finish, and he definitely would like to finish ahead of the Tough Enough race team. Right now, Thrasher and Tough Enough are running ahead of Ocean Outboard, but we've still got a long way to go and a lot of racing here today on the Hudson, so anything is possible here in the Pro Stock division. So the crew that's certainly come a long way, Mark Mahalik from Tucson, Arizona's Ocean Outboard race team, running exceptionally well on the East Coast Hudson River. As has been the story in Ocean Outboard throughout 1992, they're certainly running the same way they've been running throughout the year. They're looking very good, sound very strong, and the boat has a very good attitude right now here in the waters. So from New York, it's Mark Mahalik's Ocean Outboard race team. D46, the lap dancer race team. There's a 35-foot cigarette powered by 2 540 Mercury outboard motors with Merc Driver and drives. That's Ocean Outboard going by on the outside, who we just saw. This boat is owned and throttled by Aldo Oleschek of Lindenhurst, New Jersey. For driving today is Frank Platt from Annapolis, Maryland. That's Lindenhurst, New York. Aldo Oleschek from Lindenhurst, New York. Frank Platt from Annapolis, Maryland is your driver, and John Manali from Lindenhurst, New York is your navigator. Oleschek's lap dancer is presently 4th in the Northeast points and 6th in the national points. He had a 6th place in Montauk, a 3rd place in Kent House, and a 6th place in Ocean City. Aldo would really like to have a good run here today in the Hudson River. He would like to extend a very special thanks to Lead Lab, Machine, Philip DeGenna, Mars Mike, and Northwood Construction, and the entire Oleschek family. So from Manhattan, along the Hudson River, it's Aldo Oleschek's lap dancer race team. That's Bill Gifford and Jack Clark going by in the Sunoco Gifford Racing Team. But Aldo and lap dancers looking very good, and they're definitely trying to make up some ground between themselves and some of the lead group of boats in Offshore D. And there's the Budweiser race team, who's really charging hard. We've got a big battle going with Budweiser and some of the other boats. Budweiser chasing down Sunoco Gifford Racing. D33, the Tropic Heat race team. This all-white 30-foot Chris Cat is powered by two 750-horsepower Muller racing engines with Merc Cruiser outdrives. This boat is owned by Robert Muller of Lavallette, New Jersey. Driving today is Robert Muller. Throttles is Jason Muller of Lavallette, New Jersey. And your navigator is Robert Muller III, also from Lavallette, New Jersey. It's the entire Muller family making up the Tropic Heat race team. They've had a third-place finish in Montauk, a third place in Point Pleasant, a seventh in Ocean City, and a fifth in Barnegat Bay. This boat was race-rigged and prepared by Muller Marine and is powered by the Motor Shop racing engines and with Merc Cruiser motors and Speedmaster No. 4 drives. And they would like to extend a very special thanks to Jim and Keith at the Motor Shop and Flips in the Bridgewater Commons. Tropic Heat race team, and they are looking very good. They'd really like to have a good finish here today. And they're running exceptionally well. Jim Lausnowski's still in first place in the Extractor race team, but Tropic Heat is in a battle with Predator as well as Instant Therapy and Offshore D. They're running very strong right now. Arrow Express has already dropped out, and Tropic Heat is ahead of Aldo Oleschek's lap dancer, who we just saw, but Obsession and Instant Therapy is right there as well as Predator. So we've got a tight bunch in Offshore D who are trailing and trying to close the gap between Jim Lausnowski's Extractor race team. And this is your second place boat right here. It's the Mullers in the Tropic Heat race team, and they are looking very strong right now. They've brought a little bit of Tropic Heat up to New York City, and they're doing very well right now in the Hudson. Bob Muller's Tropic Heat race team. Tough break for the crew of Tweet Revenge right there. They're heading back in. It's a brand new boat, so most likely a minor problem, but a tough break today for Tweet Revenge, but we look forward to seeing the crew in Key West. But right now we're staying with the Mullers of the Tropic Heat race team. That's Witt's Landing, who are down in the race. Tough break for Witt's Landing in their class. But Tropic Heat is running very strong. We're going to have to wait and see if they've got enough to catch Lausnowski's and Extractor race team. Now we come up on one of the fastest boats on the course. It's boat number 2, Dirty Laundry. There's a 50-foot couve powered by 4 900-horsepower Keith Icard racing motors. This boat is owned and driven by Joe Mock of St. Louis, Missouri, and throttling today is Smitty. There you see Joe Mock just extending his lead so quickly over the rest of the field, and Tropic Heat is moving at an exceptionally fast rate, and Joe Mock, who just went by on the outside, you can see in such a short period of time how much distance he has put between himself and Tropic Heat. As Joe Mock rounds the checkpoint, we're going to try to cut across the course right here and really get a good view of Joe Mock in Dirty Laundry. And here they are. Joe Mock, what a year he's had. He's in third place in OPT points in Superboat for 92, and he'd really like to have a good finish here today. And he's presently in first place overall and in the Superboat class. He led from the start. He's running exceptionally strong. In the helicopter right now, we're going all out, but as you can see, Dirty Laundry is pulling away from us. So we wish all the best to Joe Mock as he continues his journey here today on the Hudson River. He's running exceptionally well. He's going to be tough for anyone to catch here today. This boat is dialed in today, and it looks like it's his race. From St. Louis, Missouri, it's Joe Mock's Dirty Laundry, really putting on a show here today in the Hudson River in New York City. Boat number 33, the Mean Streak race team. This 41-foot Apache known as Mean Streak is powered by C&G Cobra motors. This boat is owned and operated by Bob Gallo, throttled by Bob Cicente, owner of many world and national titles, and navigated by crew chief Bob Shinblatt. This rough water boat, who is running very well today in the open class, now has a chance to get a checkered flag since they're splitting the awarding of trophies for deep V hulls versus the catamarans, which was introduced by Superboat Racing this year. So in the deep V class, they're presently running in first place. Last year at this same race, they had a manufacturer's defect which caused them just to miss out on a checkered flag. That defect was in a faulty sea strainer which cost them the race, and they were forced to drop out. But right now, as you can see, Mean Streak is running exceptionally well here today. And as we said, they're first place in the Super V division of the open class. That's Equalizer on the far outside. Mean Streak's having a very good run. Equalizer's in a different division, so it's certainly not a problem. This is their first race of 92, and they're currently in first place now in the Open DV division here in New York City. From New York City, it's Bob Gallo's Mean Streak Race Team. Your first place boat in modified, C39, how sweet it is too. And there's a tough break for InXS, who is down in the water. They've had a problem. But right now the story is the hard-charging Carlton Myers C39, how sweet it is too. This 32-foot skater is powered by two 500-horsepower MRD inboard motors with Merc Cruiser outdrives. This boat is owned and driven by Carlton E. Myers of Canada's New York, and Jim McIntyre from Freeport, New York is your throttle man. How sweet it is too. What more can we say? 1992 has been an exceptionally good year. They've accumulated over 3,000 points in U.S. Offshore, which is the highest points total of anyone in any division in the U.S. Offshore. They're presently first place in the Northeast standings as well as first place in the national standings. This boat is sponsored by Sweeteners Plus Incorporated. Their crew chief is Skip Steinglitz, who's done a great job, and the crew is Kim McIntyre and Ann Coffey. The entire group of these people have really made Carlton Myers, how sweet it is too, a picture-perfect campaign for 1992, and we look forward to seeing them in Key West. Carlton Myers, how sweet it is too. These MRD motors are really doing the job. This boat was race rigged and prepared by Marine Research and Development in New York, and it's really done the job. Carlton Myers, the entire How Sweet It Is to race crew, and everyone involved has really made a successful campaign. Now we come up on another good boat. Presently running in second place, it's C1, the Rolling Thunder race team. There's a 33-foot Baja catamaran powered by two 525-horsepower Rogers Speed Shop motors with Merc Cruiser outdrives. This boat is owned by Arnold's Yacht Basin of Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Throttling is Rich Dancision of Toms River, New Jersey. David D'Ambrosa from Point Pleasant, New Jersey is driving, and Arnold G. D'Ambrosa from Point Pleasant is your navigator. And there on the outside is the Budweiser race team going by in that open class, trying to close the gap between himself and Gifford Racing Sunoco. They're presently second place in the National Northeast Point standings. A second in Norfolk, second in Newburyport, third in Point Pleasant, first in Montauk, third in Kent Nowes, first in Ocean City has really put them in a good spot. for the Rolling Thunder race team. And they're trailing Carlton Mider's How Sweet It Is, who you just saw earlier on, but not by much. And they are holding off. Armed and Dangerous, unfortunately, is already out of the race, as well as the Instigator and Foster's Blue Thunder. So right now, it's basically a two-boat race between Carlton Mider's How Sweet It Is 2 and David D'Ambrosia in the Rolling Thunder race team. And they would like to extend a very special thanks to the entire crew and also Jenkinson's in Point Pleasant on the beach. Defending champion in the C-Class, Rolling Thunder would really like to repeat here today, but Carlton Myers really has it locked up for sure. But a second place finish here today is certainly good for the Rolling Thunder race team. From New York, it's Arnold's Yacht Basins and Arnold D'Ambrosia's Rolling Thunder race team. Well, Rolling Thunder's had a very successful 92 campaign, and right now they're making the big push to see if they can close the gap between themselves and Carlton Myers and How Sweet It Is 2. D77, the Instant Therapy race team. This 30-foot Chris Craft is powered by three 2.4 Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned and driven by William Amadon of Weirs Beach, New Hampshire. Throttling today is Mick Hamilton from Guilford, New Hampshire. And your navigator is Randy Currier from Holderness, New Hampshire. They're presently locked in a very fierce battle with Predator, Obsession. It's very tight right now. Obsession and Predator right there, and they're really trying to make a move right now. Lausnowski's in Extractor is still running very well, as well as Tropic Heat and Predator. But Instant Therapy and Obsession, they're going right at it. Instant Therapy, they would like to thank their sponsors, Squam Lakes Automotive, Harper's Boat Sales and Repairs, Robbins Auto Parts, Lakeside Auto Marine, and Contexture Systems. Presently, they're second place in your national points and third in your Northeast. So Bill Amadon's really doing a fine job here today in the Instant Therapy race team, and would like to wish him all the best here today as we're starting to draw to the closing stages of the race on the Hudson River, the New York National Offshore Championship. It's New Hampshire's own Bill Amadon, Instant Therapy, from running very strong in the Hudson River here in New York City, the Instant Therapy race team. And that was Budweiser who was down. So someone who was running very strong is now out. So that's a big break for Spirit of Norway and Gifford Racing, because Budweiser is now out. But Instant Therapy is still running strong in the Offshore D class. Race team. This is a 32-foot superboat powered by three 2.5 Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned and throttled by Bill Betts of Greenlawn, New York, and your driver is Larry Betts from Centerport, New York. A very interesting thing has taken place at this point in the race in the Pro Stock division. Tough Enough, who was leading, broke down. Thrasher, who was trailing Tough Enough, overtook them to take first place, but then they had mechanical problems and they broke. Ocean Outport, then seizing that opportunity, took first place with Equalizer right now staying with Ocean Outport, is running in second place, who is ahead of Thrasher but trailing Ocean Outport. So Ocean Outport right now is in first place in Pro Stock with Equalizer in second place. So that's been a very interesting series of events taking place in Pro Stock. And as we are starting to come to the closing stages of the races, that was certainly some very interesting maneuvering for the Equalizer race team to hang in there at this point in the race and right now be in second place in Pro Stock. And not only are they in second place in Pro Stock, but they're in third place in the Northeast standings. And this boat is rigged by East Coast Marine in New York. So that's a great day of racing for Bill Betts and Larry Betts in the Equalizer race team. It's a father-son team. They've had a good campaign throughout '92, and we really wish them the best here today as well as in Key West. From New York, it's Bill and Larry Betts, Equalizer race team. With the Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty in the background, the Betts is really putting on a fine show here today in Pro Stock in the Equalizer race team. And there on the outside, it's Bill Gifford and Jack Clark in Gifford's Racing Sunoco Express race team. But Equalizer having a great run in that 32-foot Superboat catamaran. D88, the all-black Obsession race team. It's a 32-foot Mirage powered by two 775 horsepower Chevy motors with Merc Cruiser drives. This boat is owned and driven by Harry Turner of Lynn, Massachusetts. Peter Ouellette from Falmouth, Mass. Is on throttles, and Ronald Pacheco from East Falmouth, Mass. Is your navigator, the Obsession race team. And they're presently running in 5th place unofficially right now, but they're locked in a battle with Instant Therapy in Offshore D. As the final race of the 1992 U.S. Offshore season comes to a close in New York, the Obsession race team can look back and be proud of its accomplishments. Obsession planned on making their debut in Norfolk, but the boat was not quite ready. By June, everything was in order, and then Harry, Peter, and Ron were thrilled with a second place in Newburyport. The team was hooked. The Obsession race team was determined to attend as many races as they possibly could, and they did for the remainder of the 1992 race season. At times, the odds of making it to a particular race were slim. There were plenty of breakdowns and problems, but the team always pulled together and made it to every race. The team and crew gained knowledge and experience from the many friendships they've made in their first year of racing. Obsession would like to extend a very special thanks to all those racers who helped them make in this rookie year to come out #2 in the Northeast Divisionals. For a team with no racing experience, these rookies should be very proud of themselves. Harry would also like to thank all of his sponsors: Solomon Metal, Ron's Truck Stop, Turner Trucks, and Atlantic Waste. And especially Peter and Ron for all their time and dedication in making this race team very successful. Also, a very special thanks to the crew members and friends for all their help. And once again, a special thanks to Joan and Kathy for their understanding and patience through the season. Also, to Susan Gifford and Leslie Cohn for all their help and understanding and for always being there with a smile. And finally, a special thanks to Rhonda for keeping an eye on the office while Harry was gone. The Obsession race team, that's the story behind them. And 92 was a very good campaign for them, and they have come in for a rookie boat, second place in the Northeast standings, which is certainly an accomplishment accomplishment for the Obsession race team. So with that, we're going to stay with the Obsession race team as they take it to the start-finish line, and in just moments we'll be bringing you the official results in the Superboat, Open, Offshore D, and Modified divisions, as well as Pro Stock in the New York National Offshore Championships from Manhattan, New York. Offshore Championships from New York City. Now we're in the milling area for the second half of today's races, and we're going to be going with Superstock Sport Production and Factory. The Superstock Sport and Production will be running a total of 64.7 miles, and the factory class will be running a total of 56.6 miles. We're all going to go off with one start, and this should be very good racing. Actually, it's going to be two starts. And we should have some very good racing. The classes are going to be tight. Superstock, I look for a big race between Patriot Phantom, how sweet it is, and Whiplash, as well as Topaz and Great Adventure. They're certainly a tough team, and you can expect big things out of them. Sport, you can really expect to see Art Lily's Heartbeat having a good run. Buckshot will be there. Ocean Outboard will also be there. Molly Black Gold, Deuces Are Wild, they're going to be strong, as well as Fountain MRD. And you can really count on a big show from US 1 Special, as well as Runaway. Factory class should be very good with Ian R Performance, New Deal, Feeling Wet, very close to call there in that factory new class. Here you see the pace boat starting to bring them out. With Manhattan in the background, the pace boat is going to bring out the first group of boats that we're going to go with, which is Super Stock and Stock class. Afternoon conditions are pretty much very similar to the morning conditions. Hudson is very calm, good visibility, and we should have some very good speeds here today also in these classes, just as we had some outstanding speeds earlier this morning with the bigger boats. And that's Buckshot right there in the front of your picture. Then that's Jaws on the inside of him. There's Ocean Outboard. I see Whiplash. Great Adventure is right there on the outside of Ocean Outboard. Patriot is there. How Sweet It is in the picture. And then we've got the green flag, and the second half of the 1992 New York National Offshore Championship is officially underway. There's How Sweet It Is. Ocean Outboard is going right out there. There's Art Lilly on Heartbeat on the inside. Whiplash is going to a quick early lead. Buckshot is going right there with Jaws sticking with Art Lilly. But there goes Whiplash right there in the center of your picture. Ocean Outboard is right there. How Sweet It is on the outside. Art Lilly's Heartbeat on the inside. And Buckshot is on the inside of Art Lilly. We've got a good start here, a real clean start, and this looks very good right there with Battery Park down in the background as we look back to the World Trade Centers in Manhattan. What a great backdrop for a very exciting start. And now we're going to go with the first place boat who's off to a very fast lead. It's S2, the Whiplash race team. This 28-foot skater is powered by two 260 horsepower Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned by Stephen Thiel of Manchester, Connecticut, who does the driving, and Terry Ayers is your throttles from St. Charles, Missouri. And he throttles from the Victory race team, so he's really got a lot of experience, and this boat has had a great year. They had a 4th place in Montauk, 1st place in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, 2nd in Ocean City, 1st place in Lake St. Clair, 1st in Barnegat Bay, and they're 1st in the national point standings, 4th in the Northeast, and they just had a 1st in the Sunoco Shootout. This boat is rigged and maintained by Ocean Outboard. The Whiplash race team, they're looking very strong. They're going to be challenged by How Sweet It Is, Patriot, Phantom, Ballistic, Topaz, and Great Adventure. You can really expect to have a great run. Great Adventure with the Gazelles aboard really do a fine job. But right now the story is Whiplash. This boat is dialed 1st in Newburyport, Mass., 5th at Point Pleasant, 1st at Kent Narrows, Maryland, 3rd at Barnegat Bay, 4th Ocean City, and that has put them in the position that they are. So they'd really like a good finish here today to try to get, make sure they maintain a 2nd, perhaps try to squeak into 1st in the Northeast or national standing. So a good run here today would really position Carlton Myers, How Sweet It Is race team, in a good spot. LeChance and Peterson are really doing the job. Peterson's done a fine job all year on throttles, and we wish him all the best here today. From Manhattan, it's Carlton Myers, How Sweet It Is race team. How Sweet It Is maintained by East Coast Marine. And we do have a correction update. How Sweet It Is running in 3rd place in the S-Class. Great Adventure is in 2nd place right there, and Whiplash is in 1st place. But here is your 2nd place boat in the S-Class, S7, Great Adventure. It's a brand new 30-foot Cobra powered by two 2.5 Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned and throttled by Bill Gazelle of Brick, New Jersey, and Warren Gazelle from Brick, New Jersey is your driver. This is a brand new Cobra. They've had an outstanding year, and the Cobra powerboats are built in South Jersey. They're leading in the Northeast points, 1st in the Northeast point standings, and 2nd in the national point standings, trailing Whiplash. So they'd really like to close the gap and finish ahead of Whiplash here today. They had a 3rd in Bay Point, a 3rd in Newburyport, a 1st in Montauk, 2nd in Point Pleasant, 5th at Kent Narrows, 1st in Ocean City, and it's just been an outstanding year for Bill and Warren Gazelle of the Great Adventure race team in this new Cobra. Manhattan in his background right there, and as they start heading up the Hudson River, going up the west side of Manhattan, they're putting on a great show. We're going to have a good race right to the end in the Superstock between Whiplash, Great Adventure, How Sweet It Is, Patriot, Phantom, Topaz. They're all going to be there. We'd like to wish Bill and Warren Gazelle from Brick, New Jersey, all the best here today in the New York National Offshore Championship. Now we come up on S1, the Patriot race team, and on the outside of him, that's Dan Manta. This S1 Patriot 24-foot skater is powered by two 295 horsepower Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned and throttled by Bob Hamlin of Davidson, North Carolina, and Lisa Greger from Orland, Florida is your driver. The Patriot race team, and what a year they've had. They've been in so many races. They're the only boat running in 1992, and on the outside of Dan Manta, that's Ocean Outboard. So Patriot on the inside, you've got Dan Manta, and there's Ocean Outboard. You just see the bows of the boat creeping into your picture right there. This is the only boat in 1992 who's running in OPT, USO, and APBA, all three divisions. This is definitely a working boat. The New York City National Championship race is the 17th race of Patriot's Offshore Race Team's 1992 schedule of 22 races. Patriot Offshore Race Team would like to thank its hard-working crew of Mary, Dickie, and Ted, without whose help the schedule would not have been possible. Patriot also would like to thank Mercury Marine and Lake X for their help throughout the 1992 season. And they would certainly like to thank their sponsors, Environmental Source Samples and Horsepower Unlimited Marine Service, located in Huntersville, North Carolina. And Freeze Frame would certainly like to extend a very special thanks to the Patriot crew for transporting our equipment down to Florida for the World Championships to be held in Key West later on in November. But right now the story is Bob Hamlin and Lisa Greger doing an outstanding job in the Patriot race team. And there you see Ocean Outboard on the outside. Dan Manta's dropped back a little, but Ocean Outboard is on the outside of them. Different classes, but still, nonetheless, some exciting racing. Patriots locked in a very strong battle with How Sweet It Is. Great Adventurers right there, as well as Phantom. Whiplash is having a good run in Superstock, but the other boats are moving to close the gap. So with Ocean Outboard on the outside, the Statue of Liberty in the background as they head towards Ellis Island and the far leg of the race course, we wish Bob Hamlin and Lisa Greger all the best in the Patriot race team. And now we come up on B85, the Jaws race team. This 29-foot Phantom is powered by two 240 horsepower Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned by LPD Advertising Incorporated from East Hanover, New Jersey. Driving today is John Stallings from Denville, New Jersey, and on throttles it's David Hortzman from Hackettstown, New Jersey. And they've had a very good 1992 campaign. They're presently in second place in the Northeast standings and second in your national standings. And right there you get a good look of the crew of Stallings and Hortzman as they're nestled in their racing cockpit right there. And that's Phantom, who you see on the outside and slightly ahead of them. Jaws is right now in the middle of the pack and trying to make up some ground between themselves and the lead boat. There you see Phantom still in the picture with the skyline in the background. What a shot and what a backdrop for this racing. B85, the Jaws race team. And also what's innovative with this boat is that they have the porta-hydraulic transom bracket to help support those motors. We'd like to wish the crew of Stallings and Hortstrom all the best here today in Manhattan. The Jaws race team. Now we come up on B888, the IROC race team. This 30-foot Velocity is powered by two 550 horsepower Mercury inboard motors and Merc Cruiser outdrives. This boat is owned by IROC Offshore Racing out of Binghamton, New York. And that was Jaws on the far outside, but right here back to IROC. Driving the IROC race team boat is Richard G. Hobart from Binghamton, New York. Throttling is James Hobart of Johnson City, New York. That's Ken Zoyle in the middle of the picture. And navigating the IROC boat is Patrick Pignatelli from Endicott, New York. And their crew of John Hagapane and Margie Hobart have done an outstanding job in helping out the IROC race team. They're presently third point in national points, which is great, because they've already had a 6 at Point Pleasant, 6 at Montauk, first at Kent Narrows, 6 at Ocean City, 3rd at the Sunoco Shootout, and a 4th at Lake St. Clair. And the IROC race team is certainly a very interesting name. And that's Phantom going by on the outside, really having a good run here. But IROC is a very unique name. Richard Hobart is a doctor, and he works with the eyes. He's an optometrist, and Dr. Richard Hobart is also part of the 50 and over group. So he's certainly come out here, and he really enjoys the thrill that he gets from offshore powerboat racing. Pignatelli there, monitoring where he is in relation to the rest of the crew. But he's done a lot of work, and they specialize in low vision care and contact lens care, and he's a senior partner of Security Optometric Associates. And his son, Jim Hobart, specializes, he's the executive vice president of a natural stone quarry, and they provide natural stone for unique architectural projects and supplies wholesale limestones to many building stone centers throughout the United States and Canada. So they've combined the two professions. Dr. Richard Hobart with the eyes and his son Jim Hobart with the stones, rock, coming up with the IROC race team. Very interesting, unique name there. It's a family affair, and Dr. Richard Hobart, along with his son Jim Hobart and Patrick Pignatelli as their navigator, make up the crew of IROC race team. And they're really happy with their position. They really enjoyed that checkered flag that they got at Kent Narrows, and they're very pleased with their third place finish right now in the national high point standings. So we certainly wish them all the best in Key West, and we look forward to seeing them in 1993. From Manhattan, it's Dr. Richard Hobart's IROC race team. It's your third place boat right now in the production class, A176, the Fountain Race Team. This 29-foot Fountain is powered by single 650 horsepower Dennis inboard motors with a Merc Cruiser outdrive. This boat is owned, driven, and throttled by Patrick Patel of Brick, New Jersey, and Tina Patel from Brick, New Jersey is your navigator. The Patels making up the Fountain Race Team, and they are locked in a very fierce battle right now with RC's MRD Race Team and Molly Black Gold, Deuces Are Wild. The Patels would like to extend a very special thanks to B&M Marine Performance, Troy Dennis, the engine builder, and Reggie Fountain, the boat builder, who rigged and maintains the boat at Fountain Powerboat Plant in North Carolina. Reggie Fountain has certainly done a lot for the Patels, and they're very appreciative of his efforts, and they've had a very good campaign throughout 1992. They've had a lot of wins throughout 92. First in Texas, Sarasota, second in St. Cloud, first in Panama City, and they're currently leading in point standings in the APBA, and they'd really like to have a good run here today. We've certainly enjoyed covering the Patels throughout 1992, and we're going to look forward to seeing them in Isle Morada, Florida, as well as the World Championships to be held in Key West later on in November of this year. From the Hudson River on Manhattan, it's Patrick and Tina Patel's Fountain Race Team. The Patels are trying to close the gap between themselves and the MRD race team, who's just slightly ahead of them right now. Good battle going on in the production division. And there we have RC's MRD race team on the inside, Topaz is on the outside. Different division boats, but good racing nonetheless. They're two hard-charging boats going at it. On the inside, it's A12, the MRD race team. This is a 30-foot superboat powered by two 385-horsepower MRD inboard motors with Mercruiser outdrives. There you get a good shot of the MRD team. This boat is owned and throttled by RC of West Islip, New York. Jack McKay from Bayshore, New York is his driver, and Steve Abbott from West Islip, New York is the navigator for the MRD race team. What a year it's been. They're presently first place in the national points, first place in divisional points, and they've just had a great team. RC would like to thank MRD and Alpine Karting for all the work they've done in sponsorship to help out this team. And RC would like to extend a very special thanks to his lovely daughter Melissa, who's done a great job in assisting him around the boat and doing whatever is required to really help RC out. So it's been a real good effort put out by the entire MRD special race team and the whole crew of RC, who's really made 1992 very special. And he'd certainly like to have a good run here today, which he's presently doing. He's unofficially in second place right now behind Molly Black Gold, Deuces Are Wild, but he's really trying to close the gap, but he is holding off the Patels in the Fountain race team. RC, he's your defending 1989, 1990, 1991 Northeast champion. And we'd like to wish him all the best here today in Manhattan. From Manhattan, it's RC's MRD Special. Now we're going to highlight S36, the Topaz race team. It's a black 24-foot checkmate powered by two 240-horsepower Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned by Steve Green of Narrowsburg, New York. Driving today is Joe Zamore from Randolph, New Jersey, and Stephen Green from Narrowsburg, New York is on throttles. This boat is maintained by Ocean Outboard. They had a second place in Montauk and a sixth in the Sunoco Shootout. Topaz race team, they're locked in quite a battle right now. The Great Adventure, the Gazelles are still hanging in there pretty good. And you've got Phantom, Patriot. It's once again too close to call, but Topaz is holding up Ballistic. The distance between these boats is very small. They're very tightly bunched with the exception of Whiplash, who's really having a fine run. He's still blistering the course out there. But right now we're going to stay with Stephen Green and Joe Zamore in the Topaz race team. Staying in production, we've got A7, the Rockaway Express race team. This 1990 all-red Checkmate racing hull is powered by twin 435 horsepower RPM performance engines with Mercruiser outdrives. This boat is owned by TNT Racing Incorporated from Long Valley, New Jersey. Driving today is Tom Piccolo from Pompton Plains, New Jersey. On throttles, it's Nick Solamine of Bayville, New Jersey. And your navigator is Tony LaCastro from Long Valley, New Jersey. They've had a relatively good year for 92. They had a fifth in Newburyport, a fourth in Montauk, a fourth in Point Pleasant, and a fourth in Barnegat Bay. It's been an excellent rookie year for this team for 92. And there you see them right there, the Rockaway Express. They worked extremely hard, and it shows each race they seem to improve and get more confidence with each race that goes on. They expect to have an even better and more competitive season, and they're very excited about coming out for the 1993 campaign. They're staying very close to the leaders this race. They're running right now in the middle of the pack. They're trailing MRD, Fountain, Molly Black Gold, Deuces Are Wild, but they are holding off wide open. Runaway is behind them, and they're having a very strong run. So they're right there, so they'd certainly like to try to pick up some lead between themselves and RC's MRD race team, who you just saw. We really feel this team is going to be one of the up-and-coming teams and one of the teams to watch for the 1993 offshore racing campaign. And they would certainly like to thank their sponsors, Rockaway Betting and Nick's Marine Service. So from the Hudson River, off the shores of Manhattan in New Jersey, it's TNT Racing's Incorporated Rockaway Express Race Team. These twin 435 horsepower RPM performance engines are really doing the job to propel Rockaway Express around the Hudson River here today. From Manhattan, it's a Rockaway Express race team. Now we come up on F69, the Feeling Wet race team. This is a 21-foot Sutphen powered by a single 200 horsepower Mercury outboard motor. This boat is owned and throttled by Brian Riccio of Point Pleasant, New Jersey, and navigating today is Gary Riccio from Point Pleasant. Already this year they've had a 6th in Barnegat Bay and a very strong finish with a 3rd in the Sunoco Shootout. Feeling Wet race team, they're locked in a battle right now with E&R Performance, New Deal, and Hotfoot are all going at it in the factory division here today. It's a new division that's come out here in 1992, and it's some stock boats that are much smaller in size with single engines that really give the fans some good thrills. Plus, the racers really start getting a feel for offshore powerboat racing, and they start moving up the ranks in some other divisions. This boat is maintained by Pro Marine in New Jersey. The Feeling Wet race team, we wish them all the best here today in Manhattan. As we get a close-up of that Mercury outboard motor, it seems that the water fitting on the side of the gear case is leaking, but it does seem that it's not presenting a problem right now to the crew of Feeling Wet. There you get a bird's eye view of that problem. We certainly hope it does not become any more of a serious nature of a problem. From Manhattan, it's the Feeling Wet race team. And they're looking very good as they're trying to track down E&R Performance and holding off New Deal and Hotfoot. Another factory entry, F33, the Nasty Habit race team. This 26-foot Avante is powered by a single 400 horsepower Mercury inboard motor with a Mercruiser drive. This boat is owned and throttled by Frank Selvage of Fork River, New Jersey. And driving today is Frank Presmaluski from Fork River, New Jersey. They've had a very good year for 92. They're first in the national point standings. They had a 2nd in Point Pleasant, 3rd in Barnegat Bay, and a 1st in the Sunoco Shootout just held recently. And their sponsors are New Deal Trucking in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and they'd like to extend a very special thanks to Jet Set Marine, where this boat came from. And they're trying to track down the Feeling Wet race team, who we just saw earlier on, unofficially running in 3rd place in the factory division. It's Frank Selvage, Nasty Habit race team, and we wish them all the best here today in the Hudson River of Manhattan, New York. As the race is beginning to get to the closing stages, Superstock Whiplash is having a great run as he's holding off How Sweet It Is in Patriot. Art Lily's Heartbeat having a very good run in Sport. And in production, Molly Black Gold, Fountain, MRD, Rockaway Express, they're all going at it. And in factory, it's these boats right here, E&R Performance, Feeling Wet and New Deal. They're all going to be going at it as we come to the closing stages with the scenic Manhattan skyline in the background. From the Hudson River in Manhattan, New York, it's Frank Selvage, F-33, Nasty Habit Race Team. A strong running, another factory boat. It's F-22, the Hotfoot Race Team. This is a 21-foot Eliminator powered by a single 240 horsepower Mercury outboard motor. This boat is owned and throttled by John Crowley of Island Park, New York, and Richard Pate from Island Park, New York is your driver. The Hotfoot Race Team, and they're locked in a battle in fourth right now, trying to catch up to New Deal, who's unofficially in third place. The Hotfoot Race Team. They took a third place at Montauk in 1991, and this boat placed third overall in the APBA Nationals in the A&A class. John and Richard would like to thank many people who have really helped them and have come out and really helped make the Hotfoot Race Team a successful campaign for the 1992 campaign. I'd like to start with Richard Salino of Venice Beach, California, for his many contributions. Eddie and Ronnie of E&R Performance Race Team in Freeport, Long Island, for their mechanical expertise. Russell and Christine Pate of Anchor Signs, East Rockaway, Long Island, for the fine lettering, and Marianne Slater of Oceanside, Long Island, for their uniforms, and most of all, their families and friends for their continuous moral support, which has kept them going strong throughout the 92 campaign, and they look forward to working with the same combination of people throughout 1993, where they're really expecting to put on a big show. So from the Hudson River in Manhattan, New York, with the skyline in the background and the many piers along the Lower West Side, it's John Crowley's and Richard Pate's Hotfoot Race Team. F-57, the Spoiled Banana Race Team. This 24-foot banana boat is powered by a single 300 horsepower Johnson outboard motors. This boat is owned, driven, and throttled by James E. Brown of North Falmouth, Massachusetts, and Ron April of Falmouth, Massachusetts is your navigator. What a year it's been for the Spoiled Banana Race Team. They had a first place in Point Pleasant, a fourth in Montauk, a third in Kent Narrows, a fourth in Barnegat Bay, and a fifth at the Sunoco Shootout, putting them second in the national standings and a third in the Northeast standings. What more can we say? The Spoiled Banana Race Team is definitely a family affair. They have a professional attitude. They believe in experience, expertise, and striving for excellence is the attitude that really is the backbone of the Browns family philosophy. And this is a family race team. Jeb and Sherry Brown are the owners of the boat, and their grandbabies, William and Tyler. Jeb not only drives, but is the one who designs and rigged the hull's dash, interior, and engine setup. Granny, Carol Brown, raced the 1990 and 1991 season as navigator, and she's in the pits for this season. Ron April took over for 92 and is a great asset to the team, and they'd like to extend a very special thanks to the Banana Boat Company, Ray and the girls from Providence, Rhode Island. It's been a real great year for the Browns and the entire Spoiled Banana Race Team, and we look forward to seeing them finish strong here today, and we're really looking forward to seeing the Browns in Key West and throughout the 1993 campaign. And of course, part of the Brown success is some of their sponsors. Byrne Trucking for all their help in keeping the family fed, Stainless Marine for their commitment to racing, Cape Metal Fabricators of West Falmouth, our in-house engineer consultants, and Hamilton Fred. Carlson Realty, Bill Rugg Enterprises, PGM Landscape, Jeff Metaros for their love of racing and their loyalty and belief in the entire Spoiled Banana race team. So with that, we'd really like to wish Spoiled Banana all the best here today in Manhattan, and once again, we look forward to seeing them throughout the '93 campaign. So we're going to stay with this boat right now as they head toward the start-finish line to bring you the final results of the 1992 New York National Offshore Championship from Manhattan, New York. And assisting